So my name's Mike Byrne. I'm the UK country manager for Netex. This is our first year at Learning Technology, actually, so we're very pleased to be here. And I'm going to be talking to you today about takeaway learning, or EAT-in, effective multi-device learning and delivery. And there's a certain sense of irony about this, effective multi-device, because this presentation, at the last count, involves 5 devices. So if it's not quite as slick as it could be when I'm jumping around, please do bear with me. But I want to make sure that the real focus is a technology demonstration today, so we can look at different devices. So just bear with me while we jump around between the two in terms of connecting them. So what we're going to do today, Netex are new to the UK learning technologies landscape, so I'm going to give you a brief introduction about who we are, but not too long. I'm going to look at what we think the new corporate learning scenario is for 2013. Look at how the growth of mobile technology and mobile learning technologies has evolved to the point where we are today. Then we're going to introduce a new learning ecosystem for you. We'll look at a couple of slides on that, and then we're going to jump into the demonstration. So the bulk of today's presentation will actually be a live demo of products for you, and then we'll wrap up. So I just want a quick show of hands before I start. Are any of you in your organizations rolling out multi-device content delivery at the moment? And presumably you're all interested about doing it as well, which is why you're here listening to me. Okay, that's good to hear. Now this is where I thought I was going to be on my own laptop, but I'm just going to jump out. We produced a 60-second animation for the show, and I just think it highlights the products we're going to be talking about quite nicely. So just bear with me while I play this for you, and we should have the sound on this as well. No. Okay, don't worry, that's not going to work. No problem. We'll go straight back into the show. So who are Netex? And we'll jump through this quickly. We've been going 15 years. We're a Spanish headquartered company. We've been in the UK now for 12 months, and we have offices in Spain, India, Mexico, and the UK. We have solutions for the corporate, academic, and publishing sectors. And in terms of some of the customers we're working with, some quite big multinationals, the likes of Telefonica, Aon, Vodafone, Northgate, Iberdrola, or Scottish Power, how we know them in the UK. So in terms of what we do, I think it's the easiest thing to think of us as a content platform and technology partner. In terms of the content, we have a catalog offering, we have custom development services, and most recently we have an authoring tool that we are licensing out to partners and customers now. And what makes this content a little bit different is that it's all now authored in HTML5, and it's all authored using responsive design templates as well, which we'll show you when we get into the demonstration. In terms of the platform, we have our own LMS, Netex Central, which will form part of the show today. But more recently, we've produced our own mobile app, Learning Coffee Mobile, which is a mobile platform which is app-based, a native app for Apple operating systems, for Android, and coming up will be Windows Mobile and BlackBerry as well. We have various technology services wrapped around these content and platform offerings, and then we have innovation on the left-hand side there at the end. So we're talking about things like responsive design, multi-device content. TinCan is an API, which we're going to be looking at. I know there's quite a lot of buzz around the show about TinCan today. We're actually going to be showing you a live demonstration of how that can work with mobile-enabled content there as well, and our mobile app. So what do we think, and this is Netex, what do Netex think is going to happen to corporate learning in 2013? We think there's going to be a convergence which is leading to a growth in mobile learning. So if we look at the right-hand circle there and we look at mobile growth, so just a few statistics for you, we're seeing the rise in the phenomenon of bring your own device. So a recent study in the US showed around 70% of companies are now actively supporting bring your own device policies within the workplace. We're seeing a rise in the mobile worker. Another study has shown that 3 out of 5 people now think they can work as productively out of the office as when they're in the office. And we're seeing a rise of mobile data connection points. So we're looking at Wi-Fi. 99.7% of the UK now has 3G enabled. And now 12 cities in the UK are 4G enabled. And we're actually, Netex, we're using a 4G Wi-Fi dongle today at our stand. And then if we correlate this mobile technology growth with the growth of mobile learning technology. So this is technology that's specifically sort of related to us as learning technology specialists. So we're looking at the growth of HTML5. So the ability to build content and then roll that out cross-platform. That's really key for us. We're looking at responsive design techniques, and I think that's really become to the fore in the last maybe 6 to 3 months. So the ability to build content once from a single source and then deploy that across tablets, smartphones, or laptops, and the resulting cost-saving benefits with that. And now we're looking at the introduction of TinCan API. How many of you, another quick question, have heard of TinCan? Okay. So TinCan, and there's guys from Rustici Software who are introducing this to the marketplace. We're going to come onto this in a bit more detail later, but I think in its simplest terms, it's an evolution of SCORM. And it means that content no longer has to reside in an LMS, and potentially we can look at tracking many different types of learning activities. But we'll come on to that. So this rise in mobile learning, it means there's a new scenario for you as L&D professionals, we think. So previously, when we looked at blended learning methodologies, and I've been in the sort of learning technologies industry for about 10 years, we always looked at e-learning, or online learning here, and we looked at classroom learning, and we looked at how we could blend that effectively in our organizations. Now we need to look at including mobile learning in the piece, and how we can start rolling this out amongst our corporations. So if we look there at the new scenario, so we're learning now in the office, whilst we're traveling, while we're at home, and then in the top left there, we've got a learning coffee. So you'll remember that Netex is a Spanish headquartered company. And we built a product set based on the Spanish culture for extended coffee breaks. So you'll see when I show you some of our content, none of it is longer than 30 minutes long. And that's because it's designed for mobile users. So we have to think about how this content is being utilized. But we'll come on to the Learning Coffee brand and the Learning Coffee concept in the technology demonstration. So what does this mean, and what are we introducing now as a provider to your organizations? I think we're looking at a new learning ecosystem. And this slide, if it doesn't make too much difference, if you can't understand too well, don't worry, because this is the basis of the technology demonstration that we're going to look at. So for sure, within our organizations, we still have the LMS at the key. So we've still got people on the desktop accessing content, accessing social media, accessing assessments through the LMS. And you can see here from an employee that can be done either from a desktop, and it could be done from a tablet, and we've got our administrator looking at that now. What we'd like to introduce now is a more mobile concept. So you can see there in the top right-hand corner, we have our mobile app, Learning Coffee, which is a secure platform-based native app, which at the moment, as I said, is available for the Apple Store and for Android devices. So it means employees can go in and they can download this app. They can find a catalog of content in this app that is specific to them as an employee, or they can search for content in that app that's relevant for them. I'll go into some of the security aspects a little bit when we get into the technology demonstration. And then when we look at the content that they're accessing, then we're coming back to the concepts of responsive design, multi-device, and rapid learning. So the whole instructional design aspects of how we're actually designing this content to be applicable to different device types. And then also we're looking at the ability to still track this content. So this is key. So we're going to show in the demonstration later with the TinCan API, you can still be taking content that you've downloaded off the app offline on your device. Next time there's a connection, all that data is getting sent through to either any TinCan-enabled LMS, as ours is, or a learning record store, and I'll introduce that concept in a little bit more. We also, to complete this ecosystem now, we have a fifth piece. We have Netex Studio, which is our authoring tool. So now we're giving you the ability to author your own content, to deploy that to any device, and easily publish it to either LMSs or our app-based platform as well. And I should say here, actually, that we're looking at, obviously, Netex content, but there's no reason why this app can't support any third-party proprietary HTML5 authored content as well. So this could be the platform to launch a whole myriad of content into your organizations. OK, so I'm just going now to switch to the iPad. So bear with me. I'm just going to put the microphone down for 2 seconds. Ricardo, can you hold this?
So we give Mike a couple of minutes. As he said before, we are running the demo with 3 or 4 different devices, so We thanks in advance for the small patience.
Okay, let me just go back to the student profile here. So now we're looking at accessing content through a tablet. And this is Netex Central LMS. So this is designed specifically to be able to use cross-device. So here we're looking at the LMS as a platform to delivering content. So we're assuming that the student always has an online connection. So this can be delivered in your desktop, or it could be delivered in any tablet-type device. Now if we're looking at how we're accessing content as a student, so I'm scrolling down here to look at some content, and there's a sense of irony. We look at a presentation skills course today. And I open this. So one of the other things we're launching at the show, many of you will have heard of Video Arts, who are obviously a very established, a reputable learning technologies company here in the UK. We're establishing a content partnership relationship with Video Arts. So we've taken their world-renowned video content and we have inserted it into our Learning Coffee technology. So what this means is we are now the ability to roll out this content to any type of device. And with the responsive design, depending on the width of the screen you're viewing it in, the content will appropriate correctly for that screen and give you the optimal viewing sort of experience as a user. So for example, if we look at some of the aspects of this Video Arts course here, and this could be transferred to any type of custom course you could create yourself using our authoring tool. You'll see down the left-hand side here, there's a floating menu. So I can jump to different sections within the course. If I go to another section here, you can see using HTML5. For sure, we're not quite at the level of interactivity yet that we can produce with Flash, but we're on a sort of a roadmap to where HTML5 eventually is going to be. So for this particular example, and because we created these courses to be deployed across tablets and smartphones, we've kept the activities very simple. Now, why is that? Because with the smartphone, we've only got a really restricted width to work with, so we had to restrict this to multiple choice activities. If we were designing content just for tablet devices, then we can be a little bit more creative in terms of what we do in interactivities. We can have drag or drops, true or falses, animated images, and we'll take a look at a few of those when we get into the demonstration later. If I flip my device into portrait mode, and if I keep the should be coming back now. Hopefully any second. You shouldn't have flipped it. 1 second.
Well, it seems now.
Okay. We won't flip the device again. If I had flipped the device, you would have seen the content would have recognized that it was now in portrait mode, and the content would have been redesigned or reconfigured to appear optimally in that particular portrait mode. Okay, so we're looking at now how we could have accessed content in an online manner through the mobile LMS. If I come out of the LMS, and before I go into the tablet, if I just turn off or go into airplane mode, so I turn off my mobile data, and I'm going into our mobile platform, which is called Learning Coffee Mobile. Let's just flick back a couple to the first page. So you'll remember here we have a mobile app now available for Apple and Google devices, which allows you to roll out content that's applicable either to single users or groups of users in your organization using a content management system behind this. And at the moment, we're just going to look at Netex authored content, but like I said, this potentially could be any type of content that will be rolled out that's HTML5 authored. So if I look at some of the catalog here, and there's different categories in the catalog, and I go into creativity, for example, and then you can see the different types of resources that are available to me. If I click on a resource, I get an overview of that particular resource, and you'll see here I get the ability or the option to download that course when I have a Wi-Fi or a 3G or 4G connection. I'm not going to download that now, obviously, because I'm offline. But if I look at a course that we previously downloaded onto my device, and you can see here, this is a course that we've used a business school in Spain about creativity. And this is some different designs that we'll go through. So we've got a content section here. And you can see down the right-hand side, there's a widgets menu. So what we're also talking about when we're designing content for mobile devices is that we're potentially getting away from the sequential going page, page, page. And we recognize that users might be using these devices in different manners. So we give the option for a learner to learn in a way that's most appropriate for them. So down the right-hand side, there's a unit PDF. So we've got a documented version of this course we're in. There's a podcast I can look at, so I can get an audio summary of the content here. If I'm going through the course and I'm not sure what a particular phrase means, I can open up a glossary and take a look at that as well. And then you can see here we've got some video content. Unfortunately, we can't hear the audio on this at the moment, but this is all downloaded locally to my device. Now, if I come out of the course now, and I assume now that I am now in a location where I have mobile data. Now, to replicate that, I'm just going to go back into my settings here and turn my airplane mode on. And now you can see when I go back into the Learning Coffee and I come out of here and I go back to my course page, what will happen now is that this data is syncing with either my LRS or my LMS. And this is using the TinCan API. So what the TinCan API means here is that we have the ability as a user to take content offline outside of the LMS. When I finish that course, those statements, and this is where TinCan differs slightly from SCORM, is that we're now looking at statements. So we're looking at active, verb, and noun. And we're going to see a few of these statements when we go into this a little bit later on. Is that my statements are being sent to a cloud-based piece of software. Now, this could be a learning record store, or this could be a learning record store within a TinCan-enabled LMS. So if we have a look at what that actually looks like, and we're going back into the LMS now. It's fine. Yeah. And I go into the administrator portal. And I go and find myself as a user within this portal. You can see that I have a statement viewer for me as a user here. So if I click on this, and here you can see a series of statements that's related to the activity that I've taken either whilst online or offline within my mobile platform. So the first set of statements here, you can see they're fairly simple. And this is because this is a relatively new phenomena within our app. So we're just restricting it to Netex company attempted this particular course. If I look at some other test courses that we took within the application, and this is from the guys at Ristici Software looking about a course at golf, you can start to see the variety of information that we can start to capture using the TinCan API. So we're looking at Mike Byrne incorrectly answering questions, and it looks like I don't know much about golf because I incorrectly answered most of them. And then we can look at some of the more SCORM, so Mike Byrne experienced different parts within this course. And that's where we as instructional designers now need to start thinking about the potential for using TinCan within our content design. So at Netex, for example, we're looking at introducing different widgets into our course. So we might have the ability to like content. We might have the ability to share content amongst our peers. We might have the ability to rate content. So we're starting to talk about big data that you can capture within your organization. We're no longer restricting this to SCORM scores like how long you're in a course if you pass the assessment. We're starting to think out of the box, and there's big data we can start to use in our organizations now. The other area we could have, but I'm probably not going to switch back to my presentation now because I think that's not the slickest thing to do. We have our own authoring tool called Netex Studio. Now within Netex Studio there's three components. There's the LC Maker, which allows you to author courses based on pre-designed templates that you can brand yourself and then drop in different components. We have a HTML5 Maker, which allows you to create your own HTML5 interactivities to enhance the experience of the course. And then we have a publishing module within the course, which allow you to either publish the course straight to the mobile app within your organization, or it allowed you to publish a course as a TinCan file, or as a SCORM file into an LMS. While we look at the application as well, just because we've got a couple more minutes left, if we look about security, some of the features were overridden, but as a first-time user, I will be asked to present an access key that my organization has presented with me. Those access keys can be time-coded, so if somebody uses the organization, it means they can no longer access the app on their phone or any of the content within there. And also, based on the organizations can have their own app within the App Store, which will be branded for their organization. And once they get in the actual platform themselves here, the app will be branded for their organization as well. So I think that summarizes a lot of what we wanted to talk about today. Any questions amongst the floor about TinCan, responsive design, multi-device content? We're going to be on stand 25 for the next couple of days. So if this has generated any interest, please do feel free to come across and we can take you through some of the solutions in a lot more detail. No questions? Okay, thanks everybody for your time.